things theology, all things theology. We chop it up properly, without an apology. Gotta give that theology to God, hallowed be, cause this is how we do it at All Things Theology.
Yo, grace and peace, and welcome back to another episode of All Things Theology, where this is your host, K-Dub, and today we're going to talk about Keion Henderson. He was recently interviewed by Jamal Bryant. Someone sent me this. I was like, yo, you got to check this out. Would love to hear your thoughts. There's one particular point I want to make. And, you know, as he has been talking about for the last, well, he's actually been very quiet about it for the last couple weeks. And that's about the claim that he wanted the $4 million, right? He was asking for a couple thousand from everybody, right? And over 21 days, he would get it. And then he was claiming, hey, after 4 months, he's going to get all the insurance money, right? Or the money that, you know, he needed to rebuild those church. And right, in 4 months, the church will rebuild and it'll be back in business. Well, we're coming up around that 4-month period. And crickets, right? Matter of fact, he claimed God told him to do all this. And so I want to look at some of this section and to talk about it and give some analysts over it. So let's talk about it together.
Hurricane Katrina happened some years ago. Bishop Jakes went with President Bush and went in the Superdome. And Bishop Jakes called up Bishop Morton. And Bishop Morton prayed and sang it, and Bishop Jakes ministered. The whole world was looking at New Orleans. Half of the preachers that you and I know left and went to Baton Rouge, or they went to Houston. And all of us collectively supported them. Said, man, you done lost everything. And the whole world stopped. You lost your church in a hurricane, and the world didn't stop. They made you an abused wife in an apostolic church.
I mean, the language to describe this is like he's the victim of a hurricane. I mean, nobody was beating this man. I mean, you know how many people had to deal with a hurricane? Not just Keion. And that's what I don't like about this. And we're going to talk about that too. You're going to get into this actually, is that Keion was out here. It'd be one thing if it's like just a meteor rock just came and hit his church only. But a lot of people were dealing with this issue. A lot of people are, you know, financially struggling during this time. But you think that stopped him from asking for money? No. Again, you're not a victim in the sense. It's a natural disaster. It's a hurricane. You know, just to paint yourself as like, you know, the receiving end on of a wife getting beat is actually offensive to women who are in domestic violence situations. I'll just say so myself. It's just an interesting framing of this discussion, nevertheless.
And blamed you for complaining.
Yeah.
How did you're not charged with arson today from the Houston Police Department.
Not so far.
Not so far. The insurance agency is not saying Keion has dismantled this church by himself.
Yeah.
The storm is in the AccuWeather report. How did you keep your mind? No, this is not.
Now, there are some people, and it's not, I'm not saying this is my position, but there are some people who think Keion, maybe not himself, but people on staff maybe were ordered to make extra damage because it's taking very long for the insurance to give their money. So some people are speculating maybe they found some suspicious stuff while they're investigating and doing the church. I guess maybe they did some kind of walkthrough or something. I don't know. I'm just saying it's just, so some people are saying it is kind of odd that it is taking so long when everybody knew it was a hurricane. So why aren't they giving the money? Again, I don't know.
Ponzi scheme. You're not trying to move and
yes, he is.
Go to the Virgin Islands. You're trying to rebuild a church.
Jay.
And you weren't at Walmart. You became the manager of Target. Everywhere for wanting to rebuild a church. Tell me, do you then say, oh man, because they attacking me, let me just leave the church empty? let me
at first I was like, be honest with you, I was like, what did I do wrong? I couldn't figure it out. I literally couldn't figure it out.
Which kind of tells me that Keion he does not have real self-awareness. He's not a man that says he's self-aware, but he's going to finally figure it out. And it's kind of going to be weird because he's going to kind of like, I'm apologizing, but not really. Let's keep listening.
Because in March, on our first fruit Sunday, the ask was the year. We said either $20.25 or $225, and the church responded. It was our big give Sunday. It was the largest give Sunday we had all year. I had been talking to our church about renovating the building anyway. This is a capital campaign that was already in motion.
So he's like, I've always been asking people for money every Sunday. What's the big deal about this one? I've always been fleecing the flock. You know what I mean? And so that's the kind of interesting thing. I do have a problem when pastors ask for some kind of specific, like, hey, I need 1,000 people to give $1,000, right? Or I need 1,000 people to give $150,000 or $150 based on Psalm 150, right? It's like, no, just tell people to freely give, right? It's okay for you to ask for people to give, right? But just say they do it freely, like the Bible says to do. 2 Corinthians chapter 9, chapter 8 as well. And he's like putting this demand on what these people need to give for his own church, right? People that have no, they just watch him on YouTube, which he's kind of claim to be their pastor just because they watch him on YouTube, which is kind of ridiculous. But yeah, let's keep going.
But because our church was displaced and we didn't have a place to meet, I spoke to them through the internet because I didn't have a church to gather them in to tell them.
And I'm going to say this. He did have a church to meet in. It just wasn't the main campus. They have, from my knowledge, he has 4 campuses, right? You have the main campus and 3 other, I guess, smaller locations he has in Houston. And so it may not have been the building you wanted, right? Yeah, you wouldn't have been able to put as much people in those campuses for sure. Okay, I get it. But you had somewhere to go. So what Keion wants to make it seem like is if he didn't get his main building, he didn't get that money for that main building, he just wasn't going to have no church for a month. That's actually not true.
Right.
So I posted it to send to them.
Right.
And I woke up one morning and all hell had broken loose and I started receiving text messages from everywhere and I didn't really know what I had done wrong.
Right.
That's where I started. So I first started off confused, regretful. Steve Harvey told me, he said, regret is the most worthless emotion in the earth.
Wow.
So I was regretful. Then I started bouncing back like, wait a minute, hold on. I didn't ask for this for me.
Right.
I did this because I had intel. I knew the shortfall of what the insurance claim would be. By the way, the insurance and adjuster just came to our church Tuesday.
No way.
So I don't know when this will air.
Right.
They just came Tuesday. I walk in the church. This is documentable and true. Yeah. I walked in the church Tuesday to look at the gymnasium to see how they were going to set up for our first Sunday back.
Yeah.
The insurance agent and the adjuster are in the building, let in by facilities. Unbeknownst to me, I don't know they're there.
Right.
Walk in. I see the guys over there with the pens, say, hey, gentlemen, Keion Henderson. They said, oh, Pastor. It said, oh, we just finished talking bad about you. This is what they said. Yeah. I said, don't feel bad. I've been talking about y'all since June. I've been talking bad about y'all since July 8th when the hurricane happened.
Right.
I've been talking bad about y'all the whole time because we...
Oh, my apologies. It was June when it happened. So technically he asked to the end of this month for his 4-month prophecy to happen. So my apologies there.
We gotta get to the finish line on this.
Right.
There's no doubt what happened here.
Right.
The storm did this.
Right.
And that man looked at me and he said, this Tuesday, he said, we're going to treat you better than you've been talking about us.
Wow.
So I had to build a case with them to let them know we were not going to deal with unfair treatment.
Yeah.
That you were not going to find a way to scapegoat this. And anybody who knows anything about insurance, their job is to make the premium high and the payout low. That's the only way you stay in business.
I'm here.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we were struggling to figure out what's the shortfall because what they were going to give us wouldn't even get us back what we had.
But how does that justify you asking for $4 million when your own community has suffered great loss as well? I don't see how that justifies. okay, let's say everything you're saying is true, and yeah, you knew they weren't going to pay you what you wanted, but how does that justify you asking people who don't have anything, lost their houses, all these cars, you asking those same people for $4 million? Of course, globally, yes, I understand, but it's just very interesting. And now we're going to see something else that makes this a little interesting as well. But let's keep going.
So the shortfall was the ask.
Yeah.
Hindsight, what I would have done is I would have, number one, been a little more sensitive about the ask in the time we were in, because the members were recovering as well.
Right.
Well, here's what actually makes it interesting. He claimed God told him. So wouldn't God have known that the situation with everybody else? Okay, I understand you being, hey, maybe ignorant of, hey, not knowing, but God surely knew, and you claim God told you to want to ask for that money. So it's weird because he sent that apology a few days after, once it kind of blew up. He's like, "Hey, I'm sorry, I didn't recognize that everybody's going through that." But then, funny enough, he ended up asking for more money, which is so weird. Yeah, I'm sorry. When I said 4 million, I actually meant more than 4 million. Right? It's so interesting, right? And so, okay, I will grant your ignorance, but God isn't ignorant. You told him He's the one that told you to ask for all this money, which is very interesting. As a matter of fact, he's about to say that.
Since we didn't have a large portion of our church members coming and saying that they needed assistance, it didn't compute to me that we had anyone struggling.
Right.
Number two, I would have cut the cameras off and just talked to our church individually.
Mm-hmm.
But then I woke up and said, 70% of our members don't attend the building. They're online. And the people online of our church have responded to that plea in a way that I cannot even quantify.
Amazing.
So here's where I finished off.
I do think it's interesting that he considers himself some kind of pastor of people who don't even go to his church. It's just very interesting. I don't know how you're shepherding people you never see or meet. But as long as they give their tithe money, it's all good though, huh?
A naysayer is somebody who's a small person that has something to say about big things. And I refuse to allow my ministry to be marked by the criticism of an unwarranted offense.
Yeah.
So we're all the naysayers. We're the little people. It's just so weird because in one sense, he's like, I'm apologizing. In hindsight, I wouldn't do it. But y'all some small-minded people, so I ain't really worried about y'all opinion in no ways. There's a whole bunch of gaslighting.
Gaslight. I'm thinking that's some type of arsonist.
It's just so strange. I mean, are you sorry that you asked for that, or are we just all small-minded people? I'm trying to figure out which one it is, right? Because you got to make up your mind.
My heart was right.
Yeah.
It was pure. I just got to deal with the punches that people are throwing.
Yeah.
And so that guy who was scared and unsure and all that, he gone.
Yeah.
He gone because
Yeah, I don't really care. I know I apologized a few days afterwards. Yeah, I don't even really mean that. That guy's gone. Because what I really meant to say, I still want my $4 million. This guy is incredible.
God's about to do at 6650 Rankin Road, and the rebuild process that he's about to take us through, and the way the members of the Lighthouse Church have responded. We had 120 people join Sunday.
Good grief.
All
So
unregenerate.
as long as I got them still trusting me,
Yeah.
I'm still on the wall like Nehemiah, man.
Yeah.
And sometimes you got to watch.
Yeah.
Nehemiah's building the wall had nothing to do with you asking for $4 million at your church, right? And it's weird. He's like, only people I'm really caring about is my local church, like the people who joining, which I'm cool with him saying that, by the way. I'm not offended. But that ain't all the people he wants to give to his church. He want more than those 120 or just the people at his church to give. Remember, he considers himself a pastor to people that don't even go there, right? So this is kind of disingenuous.
Sometimes you got to fight. Sometimes you got to pray. And I had to do all three.
Yeah.
In that my heart was right.
No, that's great.
My heart was right.
And God is going to honor that.
And so we're just supposed, hey, his heart was right. His heart was right. So we're just supposed to, hey, okay, well, I guess we're just supposed to as long as someone says, hey, their heart was right. Well, sir, I'm not judging your heart. I'm judging what you said, right? Technically, yes. I don't know what your motivation was. I'm just judging what was said. And what you said was nonsense. That's why I said you threw God's name in that God was asking for $4 million. Well, God told you, matter of fact, God told you to ask for over $4 million. And so, yeah, we do have a problem with that. We do have a problem with that. You fleecing the flock, especially when everybody else is going through a hardship as well. And one of the things he did say as well is that they had already raised money because they were planning on rebuilding their money, rebuilding this church already. So they already had the money for a church plan anyway. It wouldn't have been wise just to use that money you were already planning to use to the church on rebuilding the church and maybe hold off on some of the, progress you want to have for a later time rather than just trying to get more money. Again, this is why I always say you got to avoid Keion Henderson. Till the next time, grace and peace. Oh, grace and peace. Thank you for watching another episode of All Things Theology. If you enjoyed what you heard today, go on and give me a like. Subscribe to the channel. Hit that notification bell. I promise to give you weekly lives, videos, interactions, exposing false teachers, sharing with you, the viewer, my theological beliefs, things about the culture, and the Bible. So if you're here for that, come on and join us. Also, if you would like to support this channel financially, you can do so by becoming a Patreon member or a YouTube member. Links are in the description below. You can see content before it drops. You can also have Q&A sessions with also other Patreon members, YouTube members as well. So if you would like that, hit the description link in below.